Watch this.
The CDC recommending areas with high transmission of COVID mask up in school and indoors. Now people who live in those areas are getting an extension on protection from evictions too. Yeah, I know, another COVID-related story. It can get old for us too, which is why we'd love to tell you about something completely different, something everyone has an opinion on. Nope, not COVID, but a convention of Sasquatch enthusiasts. Our first Squatch Con. How about this convention? Once considered a commercial failure by the company that made them, these cars are now collector's items, and they're being paraded around Boise this weekend. Like a tsunami of struggles, this coronavirus pandemic wave came crashing down on virtually every aspect of our lives. With layoffs and furloughs, it hit a lot of people financially. And that has meant wondering where that rent payment might come from. And to prevent people in that situation from being sent out into the street during a pandemic, there was a moratorium on evictions issued. Last weekend, that eviction moratorium expired, leaving some vulnerable to potentially losing their home. Well, suddenly this week, the CDC resumed the moratorium, citing a continued public health crisis. So community advocates are again pushing for those in need to seek that help now. There are a lot of local and federal resources to help people behind on their rent. But what if you are already in a situation where being behind on rent has landed you in court? Joe Paris tells us there is help for that too.
After a brief lapse this week, a new federal eviction moratorium is now back in place to help protect people whose ability to pay rent was impacted by COVID. The sudden change from an expiring moratorium last weekend to a brand new one this week caught some by surprise.
Definitely is a lot of confusion about what is going on with that and how people can utilize the moratorium. The most recent moratorium extension just added one additional eligibility component where people have to reside in a high-risk COVID area, and that does apply to Ada and Canyon County and most other counties in Idaho.
Allie Rabe is the executive director of Jesse Tree, a nonprofit organization that provides emergency rental and security deposit assistance, as well as other resources for people in Canyon and Ada County at risk of eviction and homelessness. Rabe says there is a lot of help for those in need.
There are resources available to people right now, and that's part of why the moratorium was extended again, because there are still millions of dollars in the state of Idaho that are going unspent because people either can't or are not accessing those resources. So if people need help, they should definitely reach out.
If you're looking for help or just want to ask questions about how to get help, Jesse Tree has compiled a list of popular questions and answers. Beyond that, Jesse Tree has caseworkers ready to help people in need beyond just helping them pay rent. For some, it's already beyond that point, and they found themselves in a legal battle.
We work in court every single week, and we try to intervene in as many cases as we can. But by the time people get to court, they don't usually reach out. I think a lot of people are just embarrassed. You know, this is happening to a lot of people for the first time.
Jesse Tree works alongside organizations like Boise City and Ada County housing authorities, as well as Idaho Housing and Finance. They offer major programs for those in need, like the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Jesse Tree supplements that assistance with tailored help.
You know, the money is out there. Apply and reach out. And you know, our model too at Jesse Tree is different from other sources of funding that we do provide a case manager or advocate to be with the person throughout the court process.
Rabe explains that they offer comprehensive help, not just some quick advice.
We're tailoring our services to what they need. So our case managers will work on people with their budget. We'll look at their income and their expenses, and we'll help them increase their income or cut expenses. We'll connect them to benefits or resources or other jobs that they need to stay housed in the long term. And then we provide that landlord mediation component to, work really closely with the landlord throughout the process.
You can connect with Jesse Tree resources on their website, jessetreeidaho.org, or by calling them directly. They can also be a good resource to connect people in need with other programs as well. The bottom line, though, from community advocates, there is help available, and there are people that want to help you.
The help is available to you. Don't be afraid to ask for it. We come to work every day to prevent eviction and homelessness. And we want people to reach out for help when they're in that situation.
Okay, Joe, last time we talked about this, I guess about a week ago, there was we talked about how few people have come forward to ask for these services. Is it really kind of, as she said, people are afraid? Is it a pride thing? What is it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people, Brian, that have just never been put in this situation, and some, quite frankly, are embarrassed that they're in a situation where they can no longer afford to pay rent or stay inside of the property that they're renting on. And they understand that, and the advocates in our community understand that this is a very difficult situation. Mm-hmm. No one anticipated maybe losing their job because of a global pandemic.
Right.
So there are people that they know that could use the help that just aren't coming forward. And if you are looking for help, I want to show you something we had mentioned during that story, Brian, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. If you live in Ada County, you go through the Boise City and Ada County Housing Authorities. There's the information there. If you live outside of Ada County, the rest of Idaho, as you see on your screen, you can go through the Idaho Housing and Finance. Long story short, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program is just that. They give you emergency financial assistance to help you catch up on your rent. There are some qualifications for you to go through the program, and you can find all of that on our website at ktvb.com. But these are two of the best resources for you to go through if you're facing eviction or you fear that you soon could. Again, Jesse Tree Idaho has so many great resources on their website as well, and we're going to link to this and all of the other resources we've collected. Our news team has been working on this for well over a year, Brian, and this unfortunately is not a new situation where COVID has forced people out of their homes. So if you're looking for anything, check out our website, ktvb.com. But the best advice I can give you after talking to the experts, if you're in a situation and you're concerned about eviction, reach out, start making calls. Someone will be able to help connect you. The theme that I get from so many people in our community, there's a lot of resources to go around, and there are people that very much want to help you.
Yeah, Jesse Tree's been around for a while, but wow, I mean, just incredibly, now more than ever, they're needed.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, thank you, Joe. All right, well, this eviction moratorium was first put in place because of, as you just heard, the pandemic, right? It's been hard to get away from it, really. Everything the coronavirus has touched, pretty much everything. And believe me when I say this, we would like nothing more than to put the pandemic in our rear view. It's something we've been thinking about a lot lately here on the 208. How much COVID coverage is too much COVID coverage? So when we got this text message last night after the show, we thought we'd share it. You should change the name from the 208 to the COVID Report. And while that made us, well, kind of smile, it also made us think and want to talk about it because we get it. It can be overwhelming. You're tired of hearing about COVID. We're tired of talking about it. COVID. Variants, mandates, misinformation, protests, rallies, and recommendations. Angry parents, anxious kids, frightened teachers. We've talked about all of it. We begin every day by saying, what can we do that's not COVID related? But not much these days is. And we can't exactly ignore that. We're still in the middle of a major public health crisis, a situation like we haven't seen in more than a century, mind you. A virus that has infected more than 200,000 Idahoans and taken the lives of more than 2,200 of our family, friends, and neighbors. COVID-free is where we want to be. And we do get breaks from it, like today we will. But it's hard to be completely COVID-free in here when we are far from it out there. We have a duty to inform. That's our job. And we can't say we've done our job if we haven't told you about the place you call home, or something that has an impact on your everyday life in the place you call home. Did you know Idaho is one of the most popular places to spot Bigfoot? It's a fact that helped inspire the area's first Sasquatch convention, a gathering taking place this weekend in Nampa. It's Friday, and yes, it's just before the weekend, but it's just like any other day. Our text line is open. So if you're inspired enough, send us your thoughts about today's show. The number, 208-321-5614. Don't forget to include your name and the hashtag #the208. And stick around, we're going to share a few at the end of the show.
Tonight, Alice and Felix...
All right, I want to begin this next story to say we're not about to talk about God, but we are going to talk about something many people believe to exist, yet they've never seen. Well, a few claim to have seen him or her, and they tell fascinating stories about their encounter. But again, not God. We're talking about Bigfoot or Sasquatch, because this weekend there's a first ever event happening in Nampa, Squatch Con 2021. And sure, there have been other gatherings in Idaho before dedicated to this wild man of the woods, but we're told not like this. And likely the wild man of the woods is not just one man. Experts believe there are many of them out there, dozens of them, right here in Idaho, in fact. The Gem State is ranked number 4 in the country, apparently, according to the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization. Number 4 per capita in Bigfoot sightings. Washington and Oregon take the top 2 spots, and that makes sense. They're right next door. So what better place to start Squatch Con than the 208? This Saturday, this street in downtown Nampa will be filled with fans of 8-foot-tall furry creatures.
Just celebrating Bigfoot. That's what it's all about.
It was an idea that sort of snuck up on Stu Johnson. Like, well, a Sasquatch.
And it kind of hit me. It's like, you know what? We don't have anything like that in the Treasure Valley that I'm aware of.
The name he knew almost immediately.
I said, so I'm going to call it Squatch Con.
Like Comic-Con, but smaller.
It's Bigfoot, so it's better.
So Stu went to work, posting his idea online, where it found footing.
First 4 weeks, I had 95K interactions.
And putting together some displays.
I decided we needed to have like a board that showed the sightings in Idaho, which is pretty cool.
Months of preparation for something that is just short of a passion for Stu.
Exactly. I'm a Bigfoot enthusiast.
Right down to the foot.
I got that a couple years ago.
On his calf.
That's commitment right there.
That's very true, yeah.
Stu says he isn't alone in his excitement.
No trolls about Squatch Con, because anybody that I mention it to, they're like, that's such a great idea. I love it. I'm going.
And if you do go, maybe step on down 12th Avenue, where there will likely be other Sasquatch sightings at the historic train depot.
So this one actually is from the Twin Falls News.
A consummate coupling for Shayna Lynch.
I can do the history of Bigfoot in Idaho. I can marry my 2 favorite things in the world.
Once Shayna heard about Squatch Con,
I'm telling you, it happened just a few months ago.
she was all in. And she pulled in presenters and plans to fill more than one room with historical accounts of Bigfoot in Idaho.
What I have found is if Native Americans are telling you the history of Bigfoot, you are going to get a much different story than you are from hunters or fishers or hikers. If you're just going by newspapers, all you're going to hear about are wild men and ape men up until about 1910.
Shayna's interest in Sasquatch is like a lot of her generation.
I'm just used to the blurry image I kind of saw in the 80s.
That we all grew up on, exactly.
That's right. We all grew up on that.
Yeah.
That is the Patterson film, shot in Northern California in 1967. But Shayna says her connection to these giant creatures is more personal.
Okay, so I believe I saw Sasquatch when I was 5.
She said it happened on a camping trip in California.
And I remember waking up and I looked out of my blinds and there were 2 yellow eyes staring straight back at me. And I did the freeze, you know, fight, flight, freeze. I totally froze, laid back down my bed, tried to wake my sister up. I looked through my blinds again, bam, right in my face, 2 yellow eyes, brown fur all around them. And at that point, it was no more freeze, it was fright and flight.
Of course, her parents found nothing outside.
And they couldn't explain it. We didn't really talk about it a lot, except, oh, Shayna saw the yellow eyes outside the camper. It was a joke.
That's kind of a common theme, and the question to any such Sasquatch sighting. If they exist, why haven't they been found?
Dr. Jeff Meldrum has a really good explanation.
Oh yes, Dr. Jeff Meldrum.
Are they in Idaho? Yeah, there's certainly a history of sightings.
An anthropology professor at Idaho State University, and one of the leading experts on all things Bigfoot.
As a scientist, my training and my research emphasis, all my experience is focused on the evolution of human bipedalism, that habit of walking on 2 legs and all that goes with it.
Is it possible for a Sasquatch to live in Idaho? And if so, how many do you think there are?
Oh, it's very possible. I mean, Idaho boasts more wilderness area than any other of the lower 48. So there's lots of habitat. How many? Well, These creatures are very rare. They're obviously very rare. Otherwise, we would have more evidence, more encounters with them reported. I would estimate, based on a number of clues and inferences from, bracketed information about great apes, that there's probably, 75 to maybe 150 in the whole state of Idaho.
That's a lot.
You go out in those woods, you've got yourself a pretty decent chance of running into the big guy.
Which may explain why there could be a lot of people sighted at Idaho's first ever Squatch Con.
Every time I mention that there is a Squatch Con 2021, the first thing is, what? And then I say, Squatch Con, Sasquatch. And then it's like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I know someone, my husband, my uncle, my niece, they're so into that.
Well, Squatch Con officially starts tomorrow at 11 a.m., but Shayna is having a guest speaker tonight at the train depot if you'd like to go. It's an Idaho woman who has written several books about Bigfoot experiences and even has a few of her own to talk about. Experiences or encounters are going to be a big part of Squatch Con 2021. Aside from the guest speakers and artifacts on display, vendors and food trucks filling the streets, Stu says he's going to have a kind of open mic session where people can get up on stage and share their personal stories of Sasquatch sightings. That's free entertainment right there. Just like the festival and the parking, that's also free. Some classic cars are in Boise this weekend, but they weren't always this popular. Ford Motor Company even calling them a commercial failure back in the 50s. Now they are classics. A 208 classic is reading your texts on the air, but in order to do that, you have to send them to us first. Give us your thoughts on today's show, 208-321-5614. Don't forget your name and the hashtag #the208. Wrong car at the wrong time. Its toilet seat grill made it look like an Oldsmobile sucking a lemon. Or let's see how else we can describe this. Oh yeah, a commercial that ran before its debut basically claimed the sedan would make driving so easy, anyone could do it, even women. With that kind of kickoff, it's no wonder the Ford Edsel became synonymous with failure. They only made it for 3 years, from 1958 through 1960. Well, that abject reject found a few friends over the years and has spawned a nationwide car club that is getting together this week in Boise. The Edsel Owners Club has called the Red Lion Hotel downtown home for the past few days, and they're going to be there through Sunday. They only made about 118,000 Edsels, but because sales were so bad, they only made 2,800 that final year. Dave Sinclair of Eagle told us today Edsels fell so out of favor so quickly, he bought one in 1967 for $120. Of course, now they're considered classic cars. And quite the collector's item. Back when Dave bought his first Edsel, that was also about the time the Edsel Owners Club was founded in 1968. It boasts 500 members from 47 states, even Canada and some places around the world, and they hold a national convention every year, rotating sites throughout the country. This year, they rolled into Boise.
The Edsel was introduced in the fall of 1957 by Ford Motor Company to fill a gap that they perceived between the Ford, the Mercury, and the Lincoln. He said, we want a car that looks different from the front, back, and sides that you can identify it 2 blocks away. The people either really liked it or really didn't. Well, in the fall of '57, there was a very short, sharp recession that affected car sales, particularly the medium-priced cars. We like to say the sales started off slow and then they tapered off. So it became a laughing stock.
I know.
I'm Dave Sinclair. I'm the sole surviving co-founder of the Edsel Owners Club.
I'll get the big rag out and I can do it faster.
There you go.
The car was named after Henry Ford's son, Edsel Ford. The car was basically designed to be in his honor. And as it turned out, when the car was such a failure, it really was a poor reflection on Edsel Ford's good name. From Ford's point of view, the test car for new ideas and things that were different. Like in the '58 Edsel, in the center of the steering wheel were electric shift buttons. There was no gear shift, so it was called teletouch. So that controlled the transmission. Your heater control was controlled by one electric dial. When people see an Edsel, because of its vertical grille, and it wasn't selling, they said it looked like an Oldsmobile sucking a lemon. Today, you have people in their 20s and 30s that are buying Edsels because they think it's a great looking 50s cruiser, have no concept of the fact that it was a sales failure and are surprised to learn that. But they see the car and say, wow, look at this great looking, beautiful 50s car, I want one.
I kind of want one. It's the 52nd year this classic car club has gotten together. It's not an exclusive club, though. You can go there. Public is invited. Go check out these Edsels. There are about 3 dozen on display this weekend. And you might see them driving around town as well. On Sunday, they plan to have an Edselcade, what they call it. It's a drive and a big parade to the Yankee Motor Museum that's behind Gowan Field. And yes, some of those Edsels might even be driven by women. All right, let's get to your comments. We've got a couple sent in with this kind of sentiment, like this one from Rusty. Pandemic can be temporary if everyone follows the science. The anti-vaccine people claim it's my God-given right, yet they don't care about their fellow man and keeping everybody healthy. A strong nation is a healthy nation. Funny Friday question, does Joe have to stand on a box when he does a report with you? Just asking, James. Well, if he got off his, I would have to get off mine as well. 208, thought yesterday's show was better. Talk more about COVID. Can't win them all.